Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Kristen. You can call me witch or you can call me bitch. It really doesn't matter. Just put some respect on that shit. I do have a slight disclaimer. Excuse me, if you are easily offended or faint of heart, I am not for you. I am not your reader. I am not your guide. I cannot help you with where you are at on your journey today. I am okay with that. You have to be. All right. We're going to continue with the story of swords. I know. Do not yell at me. Do not yell at me. It's been about 2 weeks since I posted, and I know I said that I was going to be posting it right after, but life happens, and here we are. Excuse the lighting. You guys know I'm snowed in right now, and I think this is the universe telling me, look, bitch, it's time for you to get it together. So we're going to be talking about the story of swords today. Again, excuse the lighting. I'm literally using hotel lighting, and I'm trying to produce this production for you. If you're not already, make sure you subscribe to my channel. And if this resonates, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And I will do the cups later today. So you're going to get two today. Okay. So we're going to do the story of swords. Disclaimer, I do not own any of the rights to the music. There will be slight nudity. No, not even nudity. Educational purposes with some of the cards. Let's get the show on the road. What's up, everybody? I'm so glad that you guys were very patient with me, and thank you for understanding, because I appreciate you and I do this for you. I couldn't do it with you, wouldn't want to. I need to do some like throat chakra work or something, because my shit has been fucked up these last few days. Okay, so when we talk about swords, we know swords is represented by our air signs. Also, not just air, but zodiac, Aquarius, Libra, Gemini. Swords are going to signify intelligence, our intellect, our mind. Um, think about your mind as a sword, and when we sharpen our sword, we get smarter. When we sharpen our sword, things become easier. We can cut through the bullshit easier. It's kind of the same thing. We read books to get smarter. So think of your mind as the sword, okay? The first time, because when we're talking about placing the puzzle piece of tarot into the deck and the major arcana, and when we're going to see the first actions of the swords. Remember, when we're talking about it being placed with the air signs, a lover's card is the first air sign that shows up in the major arcana, which is represented by the sign Gemini. Then we have the justice card, which is represented by Libra. And then we have the star card, which is represented by Aquarius. Excuse me. And if you guys didn't know, I am literally an Aquarius sun, a Libra moon, and a Gemini rising. So my sun, my moon, and my rising are all of the tarot in reverse for the air signs. I have an air trinity. So fun fact about me, the first time that we see, again, the air signs the sword story is with the lover's card. And remember where it is placed in the story. So the lover's card is happening after the Hierophant, after rituals, after the teacher, after learning love, marriage, learning about this unity and this all of the tools that we need to go further. And then remember, the Hierophant was like, well, let's learn how to love. Let's see ourselves love. So the first time we see the story of swords is going to be followed by the lover's card. And then we know after the lovers, we are followed by the card Cancer of Chariot, and that brings that balance. So then further down, when we talk about the Justice card in this story of swords, it is going to hit in the middle of the Hanged Man in the Wheel of Fortune. So before the Justice card, we have the Wheel of Fortune. After the Justice card, we have the Hanged Man. And we know that this Justice card is kind of what begins to suspend the Hanged Man into that thought process, into that moving forward. And then it follows itself out with the Star card. This is why I also believe that Aquarius are so sharp and so quick-witted, and they have the whole energy of swords, of the sword story, because the Star or the Aquarius card comes after the Tower. And then after the Tower, it's followed by the sign of Pisces, which is the moon. And we know that Pisces or the moon can also represent emotional turmoil. But not just that, it's about imagination and psychic abilities, and even getting weird. So keep that in mind as well. So think about the placements of where the story of swords is going to land in the major arcana for us to have this story of swords and why it is placed in the way that it is. Okay, so the Ace of Swords is actually one of the only cards that kind of spills into the love or our emotions aspect of it. And I always say that because when we start the story of swords following the Lovers card, we are in our emotions, we're in our feelings. So I also believe that is why the Ace of Swords is one of the only aces that represent another suit. And so when we talk about the Ace of Swords, it's about like new victory, new focus, but it's also about divine love. And again, my interpretation is because that first time we see the story run its course is right here with the Lovers card. So after the Fool saw the Hierophant and then fell in love and is in this garden of Eden, quote unquote, the Fool is refocused. The Fool, it knows, they know that there's a victory coming. Remember, whenever we see that halo of light, we know that is divinity. Remember the first time that we saw that, go back in the series and do your homework. Remember the first time that we saw that halo of light. So we know that we are on, we're still on that path of divinity. We're still on that path of certainty. And we are still trying to gain and attain new focus. The Fool then has to make a decision. The Fool has to decide, am I going to continue to move forward with my lover? Am I going to continue to try to keep this union together when I have lessons that I need to learn and I need to do them blindly by myself? I have to go and seek. I have to take my foot. Remember, because we're talking about being fluid, especially when we get to the Star part of this story, when we place it with the Star. I have to be fluid, so I have to make a decision. The Fool then makes a decision. The Fool chooses himself, right? The Fool then chooses himself. That's when the heartbreak comes, the loss, the sorrow, the pain. It's even raining. The sky is crying for the Fool because the Fool chose themselves. It's not in a selfish way the Fool chose himself. The Fool is just trying to remember about the balance, the yin and the yang, and making sure that there is certainty, because the Fool kind of got off track when we're talking about the journey in the Lovers with the major arcana. And that's why right after we have the Chariot with the Lover. So the Fool, the sky was even crying. The Fool was heartbroken because the Fool chose their growth over anyone else's. The Fool ran themselves raggedy. The Fool was like, the only way that this is going to get better is if I rest, relax, retreat, recharge. Because I cannot go on if my heart is bleeding. I cannot go on if there is no need for me to put myself first. If I can't put myself first, I need to rest so I can get my energy up and get the fuck gone. That's what's going to bring me balance. My rest is important. And me overthinking and running myself raggedy is not going to help me heal this. After the Fool rests, relax, retreats, and recharges, the Fool is then able to see what went wrong. The Fool is able to see that the decision the Fool made of choosing themselves, 1, 2, 3, over anybody else could have potentially been cowardly. That didn't bring balance. If anything, I deceived myself. I was lying to myself. I was trying to cheat this game because I thought that disconnecting from this person, situation, energy was going to bring balance, was going to ground me. I thought that was the decision I made, but there was obviously deception, deceit, lies within my understanding and thought process. But I only realized that once I rested and I found out that shit ain't right. Shit ain't hitting the way it's supposed to be hitting. I was so focused on this decision that I chose to break my own self down and not focus on the entirety of the picture. Not only did I deceive other people, I also deceived myself. That's why when we talk about the Five of Swords, it's a very deceptive card. The Fool's like, all right, bitch, I gotta go. I gotta blast. We gotta escape this mindset. Like, we were on solid ground, but now we got to get back in the water so we can find where we're going. I have to escape this mentality, this gray area. Because the High Priestess told me it's very black and white, yin and yang. The High Priestess told me about the pillars. I must escape to clear out this gray. As above, so below. Then this raggedy bitch, she made it to high ground, or though the Fool thought. This raggedy bitch was like, ew, I picked up all 5 of your swords. Ew, you left 2 behind, so come and help me. Come and get them. But the Fool was like, that sounds a little tricky. That sounds a little sneaky. Very, very sneaky, sir. How did you get 5 of my 6 swords? And now you're telling me that there's 7. Logically, that doesn't make sense. Logically, that's not balance. That's not how I left my solid ground. Sounds like a trickster to me. The Fool did what the Fool did and was tricked and was sneakily tricked. And now the Fool has to take this time to remove themselves from this prison that they put themselves in. They have to do this reflecting, as they thought they were on solid ground and they thought that they were in balance. They thought they were being very fluid, but now they're trapped in a small little puddle of their emotions, and they're not grounded and surrounded and blinded again and blinded again by the decisions that need to be made. The fool has to reflect on this. The fool has to do the work. The fool has to remove themselves not only from the ropes, but also remove the swords that were not just placed by them, but also placed by the tricksters. Eight of Swords, that's about the shadow work. That's our shadow work card. The Fool's like, fuck it. I want this balance. I want to be fluid. I can be. I will be. I'm going through it, but I can get through it. Then the Fool's like, oh, fuck, bitch. This is harder than I thought. I'm fucking sad. I'm fucking sad. I can't go the fuck to sleep. Bitch, I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm broken. I've been deceived. And I'm just thinking and crying and thinking and crying. Because of the disappointment, the Fool realized that they had within themselves after doing this reflecting. We're still kind of in the gray area, but we're starting to see a little bit better. Don't forget about the flowers and the different plants in here. These represent fertility, growth, health, abundance, balance. But the Fool bitch, she tired. She crying and she tired, so she don't even fucking see it. She's like, oh my God. So then the Fool's like, all right, I'm gonna I got this. Bonus card. I switched my 10 of Swords out for the Everything is Fine card. So then the Fool is like, I'm good. I'm great. I'm amazing. And they put on a fake front because they believe they've healed. The Fool hasn't healed. The Fool is putting on a mask. The Fool is playing a play. The Fool is still very much in their tower moment. The Fool is very much still going through the Wheel of Fortune and changing perspective. The Fool is still learning from the past and still trying to find direction. But the Fool doesn't want us to know. So they're just like, everything's fine. I'm good. You're good. I'm great. This is about self-sabotage at its finest. Nobody put these swords in the Fool. The Fool put the swords in themselves. The Fool self-sabotaged its own healing. Because if you act in balance, then you will be in balance. So the Fool thought. Then the Fool's like, shit, this ain't working. I gotta go look. I gotta go and find what else is going on. Like, somebody has to have this talent, have this understanding, grasp what it means to actually be in balance. I'm gonna go looking and I'm gonna go spying, and it might not be right, but I'm gonna do it anyway, because a bitch needs to know how to get back in balance. I'm trying to get back on solid ground. Then shit happens quick. Get on your horse, ride quick. The Fool was so exhausted, but now the Fool is restless because the Fool was able to see everybody else and see what they were doing and attain and grow into this person, because the Fool was already down and out. The Fool was already faking it, but now there's actual action behind it. There's the pureness behind it. There's the courage behind it. This is the first time we saw that color white in the sword story, right? We see a lot of gray in this story of swords. So we know that this is the first time in this story of swords that there is purity in the Fool's action. We see more white. Once the Fool had purity and understanding in the action, the Fool gained independence. The Fool became smart as fuck. The Fool wasn't taking no for an answer, because I've been broken, I've been hurt, not just by others, but also by myself. Also for the choices that I made. The Fool is finally being logical and communicating and saying and making decisions without hesitation. The Queen of Swords, when we're talking about the Fool, they don't second guess their decisions. They don't contemplate the decisions that they have to make or that they do make. The Fool finally was sitting in power, was finally able to mentally process and feel the hurt and understand that I need this hurt, I need this pain, I need this mental prison to test and challenge my boundaries. And then that is the story of Swords. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is my favorite story just because it's a struggle. It's a struggle bus. And we often forget, even the story of Cups is a little sad. We often forget about that as above, so below. It can't all be rainbows and butterflies. That's why when we have these tarot readings, especially with a lot of swords in the spread, and that should be a red flag to us. When we see a lot of swords and a lot of cups and spreads, it should be a red flag, because the sword story is very hard. It's a very awakening story. The story of Cups is very hard. It's a very awakening story. There's 78 cards in a deck. So every reading we are doing should not be happy, should not be positive, should not be rainbows and fucking butterflies. And I say this so often, especially when it comes to reading tarot. Bitch, if you tell me love and light all of the time, I'm fucking scared. You scare me. You obviously don't know the pain as well as the light that comes from a tarot deck, that comes from the lessons of tarot. And this the story of Swords is one of those. It's not always rainbows and butterflies. Story of Swords is very sad, but it's also very refreshing. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give me a thumbs up. I will be doing the story of Cups a little bit later today or tomorrow. Don't quote me, but I will get it to you guys. Thank you for watching. If you're not already, make sure you subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the story and you want to get some more stories like this. You can go to witchbitchtarot.com to see everything that I have to offer. As you know, hoes will be hoes. Bitches will be bitches. But you never know when it comes to witches. Which bitch is which? And no, I do not sell owls. So stop fucking asking, okay?